Guys, I'm delighted to be here, and I should explain straight away that up on the screen is not the instruction for what you are meant to do during my talk. We were all asked before our talk to supply a photograph of one thing that helps us do smarter business. And I couldn't really think of a photo for this, but the single thing that helps me to do smart business is sleep. The best piece of advice I ever got as an entrepreneur was from somebody who said to me, get more sleep. And I guarantee if you get more sleep, you will do better business, you will make more money, and you'll be a happier person. So that's my single piece of advice before I start my talk. I'm really, really pleased to be here talking to you about smart business. And I should emphasize that what I'm going to talk to you about today are entirely my own personal opinions. It's absolutely fine if you disagree. We can argue about it outside later. But I'm just going to tell you a number of the things that I believe will enable us all to do smart business in the way that we would like to. I believe the future of business is doing good and making money simultaneously. And I don't mean in the way that a lot of companies currently do it, which goes, we make money here, and then we do good by writing checks to causes to clear our conscience over here. I believe the future is about making money because you do good. Finding a way to integrate social responsibility into the way you do business on a day-to-day basis that therefore makes it a key driver of future growth and profitability. I want to see a world where the way it works is that the more good you do, the more money you make, and the more money you make, the more good you do. And in saying that, I'm not talking about corporate social responsibility. I have a problem with the term corporate social responsibility and the way that is currently executed. Because corporate social responsibility in many companies is siloed from the core business. And that drives a mindset within leadership that goes, oh yeah, CSR. Those are those people who give our PR folks something to talk about, while we'll get on over here with the hardcore data business of making money. Until you bring those two things together, nothing's going to change. And so I'm not talking about CSR, I'm talking about a different way of doing business in the future. I believe the business model of the future is shared values plus shared action equals shared profit, financial profit and social profit. And what I mean by that is, when brands and businesses come together with their audiences, their consumers, on the basis of values that you all share, which, by the way, is the most fundamental requirement for a good relationship in life as much as business, you will never truly bond if you don't share the same values. So when you come together around values that you all share, and when you are then enabled to collaboratively and collectively co-act on those values, you can make things happen in the real world that benefit consumers, benefit society, and benefit the brand and its business. Now, I'm not one of those speakers who stands up here pontificating about principles to you. Everything I talk to you about today, I'm doing myself. I'm trying, I'm failing, I'm experimenting. And because I believe this is the business model of the future, I built a startup to help businesses implement this business model. I built a startup called If We Ran the World, which you can find at ifwerantheworld.com. And that came out of my observation as a naturally very action-oriented person, that the single biggest pool of untapped natural resource in this world is human good intentions that never translate into action. And then I realized there's another equally large, equally untapped pool of resource, which is corporate good intentions. Because companies have good intentions too. But just like people, they find it really hard to find quick, easy, simple ways to act on those intentions, particularly in ways that actively make sense for and help drive their business. And so I and my team built If We Ran the World as co-action software that turns good intentions into action and enables companies to act on them quickly and easily. But where If We Ran the World starts, for both individuals and companies, is with you, with your values. And that's why this is a platform where, whether you're using it as an individual or a business, you can only access it by answering the question, if you ran the world, what would you do? Because that question gets right to the heart of who you are, what you believe in, what you value, what you stand for. And as you can see, the homepage of If We Ran the World is deliberately Google-esque in its simplicity. It just says, if I ran the world, I would, and a box, nothing else. And by the way, If We Ran the World is actually enterprise marketing software, but we built a consumer-facing interface so that individuals can use it. So when my team first built the homepage for me, they brought it to me and they said, so Cindy, we've designed this exactly the way you wanted. If I ran the world, I would, a box, nothing else. And we think people are going to be quite when they land on this homepage. And so we've put a button in the box. And I said to them, no, take the button out of the box. I want people to be phased because I want our homepage to force a few moments of what very rarely happens in our lives today, which is self-reflection. A microaction can be like our Facebook page, but that's meaningless. More meaningful is we had a microaction that was donate a smartphone. 2 people donated used iPhones to Braddock Farm. And what the farm could do it couldn't before is photograph that morning's organic crops, email the photographs to local restaurants. The restaurants could place orders immediately, and that was helping lift the farm out of poverty. The point about all of this is something that I call action branding, where you self-identify and self-express whether you are a brand or a person as I am what I do. I am the sum of my actions. I'm all about communication through demonstration. So ask yourself in your company, what's my action brand? What does that look like? Now, if you want to implement smart business for the future, there are 2 very important practical things you have to bear in mind. And the first is that you cannot do New World Order business from an Old World Order place. All companies currently are Old World Order places because their systems and processes and structures are born of a time when the process used to be linear. So in my industry, advertising, once upon a time, the way it worked was, first of all, you shot the big TV commercial. Then you shot the matching print ads. Then you did everything else, including that fun little thing called a website. Today, everything's changed, but the systems and processes and structures still haven't. It doesn't actually matter how brilliant any of you in the audience today think I am. It doesn't actually matter if anything I say today sparks inspirational thinking in any of you. It doesn't matter what innovative, disruptive ideas any of you have as a result of anything you hear me and the other speakers talk to you about over the next 2 days. If you go back to the office at the end of this conference, and if you plug all that brilliance, all that inspiration, all that innovation and disruption back into the same old world order systems and processes, you get the same old world order crap out the other end. And so you have to redesign the way you do business. And actually, that's a lot simpler to do than you might think. Do 2 things. And interestingly, these are 2 things you should do, whether you're an individual who wants to create your own future or a company. Identify what it is that you absolutely love doing, that you're passionate about. So, if you're in a job at the moment, take everything you do in that job and be ruthless. Strike from the record everything you hate doing. Focus in on what you love doing. So, and by the way, when you do that, interestingly, what you really love doing might not necessarily be numbers 1, 2, and 3 on your job spec. So identify what it is that you love doing, and then identify the conditions under which you most love doing it. So you might go, I love doing this. I particularly love it when I only do it between these hours. I love it when I only do it working with these kinds of people, these kinds of clients. Maybe you particularly love it when you only do it from this one location, or these 2 locations. And then design an opportunity, a job, a venture around those two things, because then it never feels like work. Because you're doing what you most love doing in the circumstances in which you most love doing it. The same applies to a company. Identify what it is that as a company you love doing, you're passionate about, the reason you were founded in the first place. Because companies lose sight of that over time. They go, oh, look, our competitor over there is doing that, we should do that too. Oh, look, they've added one of those divisions, we should have one too. And over time, you become something completely different. So identify what you love doing as a company and identify the circumstances in which you are at your best doing it, and then redesign and restructure your company around those two things. And when you do, it's enormously cost-effective. When you redesign and restructure your company around those two things, you cut out whole areas of overhead and cost. And that's important too, because as well as redesign the way you work, you need to redesign your business model. I observe too many people going, oh, this is how our industry's always made money. This is the business model. This is the only one there can ever be. Or people go, there's a set number of business models out there and we have to operate one of those. Not at all. Your business model can be anything you want it to be. And in fact, a really good starting point is to ask yourself, how would I like to make money? As a business, if we could completely redesign our business model, how would we like to make money? And then design your business model around that. To make my next point, I have to tell you about my other startup, which is a complete accident that turned into a business. So I date younger men, who tend to be men in their 20s, and through dating younger men, I began realizing about 7 or 8 years ago that I was encountering an issue that would never have crossed my mind if I'd not encountered it very intimately and personally. I realized that I was encountering what happens when two things converge. When today's total freedom of access to hardcore porn online meets our society's equally total reluctance to talk openly and honestly about sex, and results in porn becoming, by default, the sex education today in not a good way. And so I found myself encountering a number of, if you like, sexual behavioral memes. I went, whoa, I know where that behavior is coming from. I thought, if I'm experiencing this, other people must be as well. As I've mentioned, I'm very action-oriented. I went, I want to do something about this. So 6 years ago, I put up on no money a tiny, clunky website at makelovenotporn.com that posts the myths of hardcore porn and balances them with reality. The construct is porn world versus real world. I had the opportunity to launch Make Love Not Porn at the TED conference back in 2009. I took a deliberate decision to be very explicit in my TED talk because I knew that audience would not get this issue unless I was very straightforward about it. As a result, I am to this day the only TED speaker ever to have uttered the words "come on my face" on the TED stage, 6 times in succession. The talk went viral as a result, and it drove an extraordinary response to Make Love Not Porn. And the response was so extraordinary that I felt a personal responsibility to take this initiative forwards in a way that would make it much more far-reaching, helpful, and effective. And I saw the opportunity for a business solution to a huge global social need, to do good and make money simultaneously. I always have to emphasize to people that Make Love Not Porn is not anti-porn because the issue isn't porn. The issue is the total absence in our society of an open, healthy, honest conversation around sex in the real world, which, if we had it, would, among many other benefits, also mean people would then bring a real-world mindset when they view what is essentially artificial entertainment. Our tagline is pro-sex, pro-porn, pro-knowing the difference. And our mission is purely and simply to help make it easier to talk about sex, openly and honestly in the public domain, and openly and honestly privately in your intimate relationships. So I decided to take every dynamic that exists out there in social media currently and apply them to the one area that no other social network is ever going to go, sex, in order to make real-world sex and the discussion around it socially acceptable, and therefore just as socially shareable as anything else we currently share on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. So, 2 years ago, in public beta, my team and I launched MakeLoveNotPorn.tv, which is an entirely user-generated, crowdsourced video sharing platform that celebrates real-world sex. It's a .com site brought to life. Anybody from anywhere in the world can submit videos of themselves having real-world sex. And we're very clear what we mean by this. We're not porn. We're not amateur. We are creating a whole new category that doesn't exist yet. Our competition isn't porn. It's Facebook and YouTube, or it would be if Facebook and YouTube allowed sexual self-identification and self-expression. And so this is not about performing for the camera. It's just about capturing what goes on in the real world. It's funny, glorious, messy, silly, wonderful, beautiful humanness. My team and I curate to make sure that every video we publish is real and authentic. And we have a revenue-sharing business model. You pay to rent and stream real-world sex videos, and then 50% of that income goes to you, our contributor, or as we like to call you, our make love not porn star. Shared values plus shared action equals shared profit. Now, I had no idea when I embarked on this venture that my team and I would fight a battle every single day to build it. Essentially because every piece of business infrastructure any other startup can at least take for granted, we can't because the small print always says no adult content. And this is particularly bad in the field of finance, funding, banking, payments. It's an enormous challenge to get funded. I can't find a bank anywhere in the world that will allow me to open a business bank account. Putting payments in place has been our biggest challenge. PayPal won't work with us, Amazon won't. And that is why one of the things that I'm doing is something I advise all entrepreneurs and anybody who wants to do business of the future, which is when you have a truly world-changing venture, you have to change the world to fit you, not the other way around. I have a whole tranche of work I do aimed at showing the tech and business world how enormously fundable, disruptable, startupable, and investable the area of sex tech is, because I'm out to break the business barriers down that are in my path in order to enable me and my team to scale and grow our startup to the billion-dollar venture that we know it can be. So whatever you want to do, however difficult it is, it doesn't matter. Set out to change the world to fit it, not the other way around. I'm in the Steve Jobs business of reality distortion. Reality tells me I can't build my startup the way I want to. I'm going to change reality. There are two more important principles that I want to talk to you about before I open this up to Q&A. And the first one is men in the audience. I want to talk to you. Okay, women, bear with me. I'm just talking to the men here. Men, it's very comfortable hiring people like you. It's very comfortable working with people like you. It's very comfortable co-founding businesses with people like you. It's very comfortable hanging out with people like you. If you want to own the future, be prepared to get uncomfortable. Because the future is gender equal, and working with women is uncomfortable. Because we are other. We have different insights, perspectives, worldviews. We ask the tough questions in business and in life. Questions like, what are you thinking? Where is this relationship going? Or in a business context, why are we spending money on that? Why does everyone in the meeting fall silent when this person starts talking? Women challenge the status quo because we are never it. And out of that discomfort comes greatness. Because diversity drives real disruption and innovation. If you want to do one thing to set your business on a more disruptive, innovative path, it's very simple. Take a long, hard look at it, identify all the areas that are all male and male-dominated, change that. Doing that one single thing will instantly make you more innovative. At the top of every industry is a closed loop of white guys talking to white guys about other white guys. And everything I say about diversity of gender applies to diversity of race, ethnicity, sexuality. If you want to do smart business, break that loop. And my final point is, whatever sector you work in currently, it's a safe bet that all around you, you see the syndrome that I call collaborative competition. Collaborative competition is where everybody in a sector competes with everyone else in the sector by doing exactly the same thing everyone else in the sector is doing. Really bad idea. That is what allows real innovation to come in from the outside. Or, as a guy in the Harvard Business Review put it very well, If you align your strategies to what everybody else in the market is doing, a single business bullet will take you all down. The future, instead of collaborative competition, is competitive collaboration. And what I mean by that is when all of us in a sector come together and collaborate in a way that we don't see currently, on the premise of a rising tide floats all boats, making things better for the whole sector, that is what then allows each of us to be uniquely competitive, off the top of that, leveraging our own individual skills and talents. You've got a phenomenal opportunity to do that over the next 2 days. Come together and competitively collaborate, because that is the future. My favorite quote of all time is Alan Kay, who said, "In order to predict the future, you have to invent it." I am all about inventing the future. Too many people think the future is something that happens without us, roll us over in its wake. I'm about decide what you want the future to be, make it happen. And every single one of you in this room today has the opportunity to do that. So please, over the next couple of days, competitively collaborate, decide how you want to invent the future, do smarter business yourself, and make that future happen, because you absolutely can. Thank you very much. Do we have time for questions?
We do have time for questions. We actually have 10 minutes.
Fantastic, great.
Because this is obviously a topic that really sort of encourages people to think about really difficult questions and triggers feelings and maybe provokes in a way. So we're actually ready. My colleague Sidona is ready with a microphone. If we have any questions in the audience, do we?
Guys, please ask questions. And as I think you already know, you can ask me anything. So please do.
Anyone?
Is that a hand up there? Sorry.
Well, we actually have a question up there.
Yep, microphone.
Hi, Cindy, I have a question. So working with CSR, what's been the most difficult thing in that field, working with CSR?
I'm sorry, the most difficult thing related to?
CSR, corporate social responsibility.
Do you know, the reason why I'm very emphatic about what I see as the future of doing good and making money simultaneously is that the single most difficult thing, I think, is that businesses and business leaders do not understand how CSR makes them money. And it's critically important that we demonstrate that, because nothing gets taken seriously until it gets taken seriously financially. And by the way, and this is a message from the women in the audience, I say that a lot with regard to gender equality, because as women, we don't get taken seriously until we get taken seriously financially. And every single one of us as women should be working to make a shit ton of money to demonstrate that we should be taken seriously financially. And by the way, there is a huge amount of money to be made out of taking women seriously. Same deal with CSR. And so it is absolutely not about separating the two things out. You know, oh, we do business here, and then we have a CSR division here that, like, you know, we have a foundation, you know, we find causes that we support. It's amazing to me, and again, this is one of the reasons I created it for around the world. People don't understand there's an enormous difference, whether you are an individual or a company, between going, I want to do something good, so I'm going to find a cause and attach myself to it, versus, I want to do something good, so I'm going to look within myself. Again, whether I am a person or a company, I'm going to identify exactly what it is that I'm all about, that I stand for, that I believe in, that I value. And I'm going to take from that what it is that I should be doing, because that will demonstrate to me the path that I take to act on my own values in a way that creates my own action brand. And so I really want to see a future where those two things aren't siloed, and as I say, where we demonstrate how you can integrate social responsibility on a daily basis. Because until we prove that doing good makes money, we are going to get nowhere with our attempt to get every business to buy into the model of the more good you do, the more money you make, the more money you make, the more good you do. And so, again, with both my startups, I'm trying to demonstrate that. You know, if we ran the world as a venture that is my attempt to redesign the future of business, Make Love Not Porn is my attempt to redesign the future of sex, but in both cases, by themselves being demonstrations of, they are designed to do good and make money simultaneously. Does that make sense?
Any more questions from the audience?
Yep.
Yeah?
Oh, great. Got a couple.
You talked about competitive collaboration. Do you have an example of where you've seen that happen?
So I have to tell you that at the moment that this is extremely rare because, again, people are so entrenched in the old world order way of operating. You know, I mean, for example, again, my industry, advertising, one of the most frustrating things about it is the competition clause in contracts. Oh, if you work for a client in this sector, you can't possibly work for any, which is ridiculous. I absolutely operate this myself. I mean, I'll give an example from my own background, which is last year, Fast Company called me up, and they said, we want to write an article about all the obstacles that you and your team face building Make Love Not Porn. And I went, terrific, very happy to be interviewed, but here are 6 other sex tech entrepreneurs I want you to interview as well. I don't care if my and Make Love Not Porn's column inches go down to this, because I want to demonstrate there's an entire movement of us out there. The next big thing in tech is disrupting sex, and we all benefit when the world sees a bigger picture than just my startup. So I'm continually exhorting people to do this, and I think people are starting to think differently about it, but it does take quite a while to get over that natural instinct in industries to got to hug out information to ourselves. You know, actually, the more you share an idea, the better it gets. The more you share anything, the better it gets. And there are many industries that could massively benefit from sharing data and information openly and collaboratively in a way that would benefit all of them. And so I don't see it happening often enough at the moment, but I really want to help make it happen. There's another question over here.
You mentioned you had some problems getting finance and banking accounts when you had the word cum shot in your business plan, right? What's your opinion on old world banking versus new world startups? So the interesting thing about working on Make Love Not Porn is that I am now ferociously interested in the future of money. Because I realized very quickly that we were going to have to find the people as much at the cutting edge as we were, who saw the enormous financial potential that we represented. Interestingly, so I said to my team, we're trying to invent the future of porn. I want to talk to anybody inventing the future of money. I want to find the people as frustrated with the old world order system of finance, banking, payments as we are, from a different perspective. Let's research every fintech startup out there, because those are the guys I want to work with. So we did that, and that was when we found the new world order of money subscribes to old world order legislation. The small print still says no adult content. And so even the really cutting-edge fintech startups are hidebound by an industry where Clay Shirky, the internet guru, put it very well when he said, institutions have a vested interest in perpetuating the problems to which they are the solution. And the financial world is a really bad example of that. So what we are always looking for, and again, this is a principle that you know, I'd love you guys to take on board. Our single biggest obstacle in the finance world with Make Love Not Porn when it comes to getting funded, bank accounts, payments, is the social dynamic that I call fear of what other people will think. It is never about what the person I'm talking to thinks. When you understand what we're doing with Make Love Not Porn, why we're doing it, nobody can argue with it. It is always their perceived and wrong-headed fear of what they think other people will think if they work with us, partner us, you know, fund us. And I have to tell you, fear of what other people will think is the single most paralyzing dynamic in business and in life. You will never own the future if you care what other people think. And so, again, I'm paving my own way. I'm working to create the perfect storm of business and social acceptability that will break down this ridiculous mindset. I gave a talk at South by Southwest the week before last
which is about the fact that the 3 huge disruption opportunities in the tech world currently are sex, cannabis, and Bitcoin. And ironically, investors and funding are flocking to cannabis and Bitcoin more than they are to sex tech, which has way more financial potential. And so the frustration there is that the huge amount of money going to cannabis and Bitcoin means that VCs and startups in those 2 areas can fund lobbyists, regulation change, foundations, public education initiatives. We need those in sex tech. We need a new definition of adult content. And so I'm just working really hard to try and make that happen.
Cool. I think we have time for one more question.
I thought I saw I'm over there somewhere.
Yeah. I actually have a question.
Please.
Well, something that struck me was, I've worked in several companies where change actually, as you described it, came from sort of bottom up. But then two or three levels up, management just kills all ideas. Do you have any sort of recommendations for how to convince management, top management, to actually sort of go with the change and actually listen to you? Is it about the money, sort of convincing you?
No, absolutely. I get asked this question all the time. Yeah. It's absolutely the right question to ask. So it's actually the same principles I've been talking about, micro-actions and communication through demonstration. If you are a cog in a machine, if you're working in a large corporate structure, start with a micro-action. Find a piece of a project, a small chunk of something, where you can design the way you do it differently. Make it work in the market, have it gain traction, have proof of concept, demonstrate. Be able to say, look, we did this with this, and it worked. Here are the sales results, here's the impact, here's the data. Let's expand that to this area. And so from one micro-action, take it outwards, but the key thing is communication through demonstration. Proof of concept, proof that it works, and obviously when you start with something on a very small scale, you can do that much more easily. And then change happens from the bottom up, not the top down.
Great.
Can I just, just before we close, can I just ask one thing, guys? Because I just have to do this. So I checked this morning where Sweden is in the traffic source rankings to make love, not porn. Because we're a global platform, our second highest source of traffic after the US is China, where, interestingly, we're not blocked. Sweden currently is number 15. I'd love to see you change that, represent. Go to makelovenotporn.com, go to makelovenotporn.tv, sign up, rent real-world sex videos, help prove that you can do good and make money simultaneously by helping my business. Please. Yeah. Make Swedish love, not porn.